if I could wake up in the morning and help someone today, then it's been a cracker day. Because there's a lot of times that we don't get it right, and there's a lot of things that we need to work on. But for me, that's the challenge for tomorrow. Let's fix it. Let's get back on track and work out. No day is the same. No client is the same. No campaign is the same. So for me, when I used to sort of jump around in different jobs looking for that challenge, that's every day for me.
Come on, give me the intro, man. Start. Forget about your intro. Just fuck the intros. Fuck everything.
Surviving the digital jungle is tough. We're here to guide you through it on the Digital Jungle Podcast.
All right, welcome to another episode of the AiiMS podcast. This one is an interview that I've been looking forward to doing. Today we have one of our client experience managers, Rhys Williams, in the podcast studio. Rhys, welcome, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you very much for having me.
Mate, so look, today I want to talk a little bit about, I suppose, yourself, your role, but I really want to sort of talk about, I suppose, a little bit about your journey in AiiMS, but more so the importance of, I suppose, relationship building. Obviously, that's a big part of what we do here, and has been a big part of your role. You and I, we've worked closely together for 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
And we've had many conversations, and we've had a lot of deep conversations. We've worked on clients together. We've worked on strategies together, and even obviously discussed a lot of similarities in our lives, which is cool. And I thought, well, let's put this together. Let's sit down in the podcast and let's sort of flesh out some of the stuff that makes you who you are, and I suppose some of the reasons why you have been so successful in this industry, and I suppose why some of your clients have been so successful. So I want to kick off and let's start from the beginning, right? Let's put a bit of a chronological order to this process. So I want to sort of start and sort of say, where did your career start? Where did your career start, and how did it start?
Well, look, to be honest with you, I think with anyone, is there a career? Like, does it happen? Like, sort of. It was just a progress, like it was one of those things that as a young kid sort of started a job and sort of did whatever I could do. One of my first jobs was working, with a grocery store and a supermarket, then, translated across into selling TVs and that sort of stuff in a big retailer. And it just went from there. And I think it's one of those things that naturally you're sort of drawn to a job and a career. And I think it's one of those things, if you're good at something, it comes natural, and it's sort of just a progression. The climate or the environment of what you do just changes. But I think customer service, relationship management, business management, it's always been there.
Okay. Where did that stem from?
Well, my parents had their own business when I was quite young. So I was very much involved in that from the get-go, working, as a family business, it's all hands on deck, you know what I mean? Mum and dad were both sort of working in it. As we grew, we got older, we worked in it. And I used to go with my father, and there's a good story that we always sort of joke about in my family about where everything really sort of kicked off. And I would say I was 6-7 years old. My dad was delivering bread at the time. We delivered to this really cute little cake shop, muffins and all that sort of stuff. Early in the morning, no one about. And Dad used to always say to me, when you walk in, big smile on your face, look extra cute, and maybe the girls will give you something, And
nice.
I thought, no worries. So, I would go and, good morning, ladies, how are we today? And they'd, isn't he adorable? Isn't he cute? And they'd say to me, pick some of the fresh donuts and off you go. And
win. It
became a thing every weekend, the same sort of story. And again, it's one of those things that if you're friendly, you're approachable, you're a real person, you get further in life, as the saying sort of goes, you attract more bees with honey, and I think that's one of the things that was sort of stemmed and sort of put into me at a very, very early age. My father was the same. He was just a bread man at the end of the day, but his customers were loyal to him because he was real. That was a huge thing for him.
Love that. Love that. So what was your first job? Let's go there. Your first job as an adult.
So realistically, other than sort of I worked, back dock at a Franklin store sort of thing, but that was the sort of time filler after school. But the first proper job I had was selling TVs. Well, actually, as a cleaner, just in a department. And at that time, some person came up to me and said, "Do you know anything about stereos?" And not really knowing anything, I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I do." And he pointed me into the direction and said, "What is this one?" And I remember reading off the card all the features that it had, in the corner of my eye. And made a decent sized sale from there. And then one of the managers sort of saw some potential and said, "Let's put you on the floor." because I didn't have a no attitude. It was always, can you help me? Sure, I can. And if I can't, I'll work it out or work my way through it and find someone that can. And so that was it. That's where it all sort of stemmed and started from. And then, translated into real estate. Again, same deal. I was in a customer service role, helping some of the more senior salespeople book appointments and follow up on leads and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
And then literally every other job since then, even from a truck driving perspective, it was all customer facing. It was always about dealing with people.
Yep. So when did you develop or work in an environment where you were able to sort of really start to utilize these skills in business or dealing with customers, sales, relationship building?
Yeah, I was a sales rep and merchandiser for a bread company, same company that my father worked for. I went off and worked in a different branch for them, and then that was it. Yeah, same deal. Dealing with big stores, dealing with competitors, dealing with customers on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
And then that was that sort of transitioned me into a full-time role going into the automotive industry.
Okay.
Where I did same sort of deal, sales role from them, and then also progressing into a business management role and dealing with some of the staff that were working there, from the sales team to the mechanics and dismantlers that were working in the factory itself. So
tell me about when you first, and what brought you to AiiMS, right? Let's go there. What brought you to AiiMS, and touch on your entry journey, your onboarding journey.
Yeah, look, it was, for me, the opportunity came from when I had a bit of a reflection. I recently got married and things were getting a little bit more serious and a bit more adult, so to speak. And I was looking at something a little bit more structured and stable. So I started reflecting on what I had done previously, and a lot of the roles that I had been in, whatever it had been, I'd sort of started entry level at the bottom, worked my way up, got to a point where I felt there was no more growth or there wasn't a direction I wanted to go, and I'd moved on. But at the same time, I always reflected on what I had left behind. What impact had I made to that business before I left?
Sure.
So for me, working in an industry where I could implement that day to day with hundreds of businesses was a huge appeal to me.
Yep.
I applied for this company as an extremely entry level position.
Sure.
But that's the way I'd been raised. My father had always sort of had the opinion of the people at the top were too far away to see those at the bottom. And I think to get an understanding of if you want to be at the top, you need to start at the bottom.
That's right.
So I'd always had done that. I've never applied for a position at the top, or even realistically where my skill set was. I would underplay my ability so I could start at the bottom and work, because I think that makes someone stronger. So for me, coming to AiiMS was a big appeal. Working with so many different clients to do that on a day-to-day basis was right up my alley.
Do you remember your interview?
With you? Yes.
That's where that was your biggest sale, I reckon.
My biggest and
That
best.
was your absolute biggest sale. You haven't made a better sale here since. 7 years ago, that was your first sale, and it was your best sale.
I think I still have the suit that I wore as well.
Because you'd sold me. I'll tell the story essentially. I remember, I think we were advertising for a BDM, and it was within AiiMS, but within another brand that we had in an organisation that we'd owned back then. And you came along as an interview, and we'd been interviewing a couple of different people from all sorts of walks of life. And look, your resume didn't really give us much expectation because of, you'd been in automotive and a couple of bits and pieces, but your sales and relationship sort of element. And I think that's probably the key. I look back in terms of, my experience in team building or leadership or recruiting. I have a different perspective on all of it, because what's on paper means absolute rubbish. Personally, I remember saying, "Yep, we might as well give this bloke a call and have a chat." And I think I had a chat with her on the phone. You were like ridiculously articulate, and I was like, "Wow, this guy is a machine. He can speak, right?"
Yeah.
And then I said, "Okay, hey, grab that general manager. We've got to have an interview with this bloke."
Yeah.
And you came in, and fair income, I'm a talker, you know that, right? So generally in conversations, I don't care if it's me and someone else or me and 15 people, I'll walk into a meeting and say, look, I'm not going to do much talking here. And that's what I said to our general manager at the time. I won't do much talking, let me just feel it out. And usually every scenario I go into with that mentality, 2 minutes in, I do 95% of the talking.
Absolutely.
Can't help myself, right?
Like now.
I have never sat in a meeting for an hour and not done any talking. And that's basically what happened at the interview, because I don't know how well rehearsed you were, but you came in, fair income, you blew us away. Do you remember them, Dave?
I do. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think actually at first, the general manager wasn't there and you got up and were like, hang on a minute, I've just got to go get someone. And I was packing it. I was like, oh, God, what's he doing? Who's he going to go get?
Yeah.
And and I think, look, and again, I hope, and I've been told enough times that, there's no frills about me, like I'm not trying to hide from anything. My appearance is a good sort of indication to that. It walks in before I do, you know what I mean? And I think...
Yeah, you're not very good looking.
No,
I've
hideous.
I've noticed that.
Hopefully this is radio only. But no, and I think it's that comes from my parents, that's who they are, and I think it's in my entire family. And I think, that's what it is. I just sort of came in and I was going to and I'll be honest with you, I nearly didn't come to the interview because I was skeptical. I was like, I don't know if I'm the right person for this role. And my father said to me, he goes, just go and see what happens and whatever. So I had nothing to lose when I sat down. And I think most interviews are much the same. I had everything to gain, nothing to lose. And I just thought, well, I'll give them an hour, 15 minutes, whatever they can give me, a look into who I am and what to expect. So then there's no surprises if they do decide to give me a job.
And I can tell you right now, and looking back at, the team that we have now and the team that we're consistently growing, what you had was absolute confidence in yourself. You had obviously unbelievable communication skills and acumen, but you had desire. You were inquisitive. You had a passion. You believed in your potential well above what your potential on paper said. And they're the things I think that make the difference between a good person, employee, businessman, relationship manager, and a great one.
Absolutely.
I think it's desire and passion over skill and product knowledge. You know what I mean? So I want to sort of dive into a little bit about your journey at AiiMS, right? And your role you play. Obviously, you're a client experience manager. It's a very, very pivotal role within our organization. When you first started and over the time, what's been an element that would be notable? What are some of the key factors that have made your role your role?
Well, look, I think initially when I first came in, it was a huge shock because I didn't know that no other person had been added to that team, prior to me. It was the team was the team and that was it. And, realistically, I think only this year we've sort of added to that team, and that team itself is still so extremely strong. And I think testament to the team and obviously the outside of the company is the fact that, we're lifers here. We come in and we support and we build and we grow. And I think that's been huge. So I remember coming in to that and I was extremely intimidated, and I'm not intimidated often, but I was looking at a team that had worked together for such a long time. I was immediately the different person, and it was like, the first day of high school all over again, but the guys that I sat next to and trained on my first day, I still sit next to, and they still train me and I still train them, and I think there's that extremely supportive environment here, which sounds like a massive cliche, and it's almost one of those things that you don't believe, but it's ridiculous because the support is unbelievable. Like we'll quite often we'll make a phone call and you'll hear someone on the other side just go, great phone call, man. Really, really good. Or here's something that didn't go to plan and say, hey, is there anything you need us to do to jump in on the help on that? And that's not just in my team, it's in other teams. So I think the support side of that is phenomenal, because I think in most roles and most other jobs that I've had, you do your 3 or 6 months training and then basically you've got all the tools like the other guys and away you go. There's not a lot of continual growth. In an industry that we're in that changes and our clientele changes and our products and services change, it'd be foolish to think that we wouldn't change.
That's exactly right.
And I think for me, the part that I do love is that intimidation is gone, in the sense that it didn't take me long to realize that we're all students. I didn't feel like the new trainee anymore.
And that's a good point. And that's something, probably only the last couple of years, like obviously I've been in the world of digital marketing, sales and business for 18, 19 years or something, right? And I'm an amazing coach and always been a terrible player. I think it was a couple of years ago and more so this year with a lot of the movement we're making, the evolution, the student hat. Like when you can stop and put the hat on of a student, you unlock so much opportunity for growth and potential, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably been a big drive and ethos behind sort of what we're doing. Like we've got some of these client experience managers like Gurkhan and Sarah and whatnot, who have been in the trade and been at AiiMS since conception.
Yeah.
Like I remember I started my career when I was 17 in an environment working for Yahoo Local back with Kenan and Janti. Gurkhan was already there. So,
Wow.
you know, and I see the movement that Gurkhan still makes from a new knowledge base, new skill set, new levels of wisdom. He's learning every single day. He's been in the trade for 20 years, which is massive.
But like, how many other industries are like that?
Yeah,
like, there's
exactly
not a lot, and I think there's not a lot of people to be like that in industries. You know, like I came from the automotive industry where we had guys that had been doing the same job
Yeah.
for 30 years. And the core and the structure was the same thing. You know, realistically it was. But it was all the little 1%ers around it that was different. And if you didn't have, you know, those guys that have been in there for 35 years, if you didn't have them on the same page of saying, this is where the growth is going to go, we're going to start doing this.
Yeah.
And so many of them didn't. They were like, nah, I'll go somewhere else where we're still doing it the same way.
Yeah.
And it's a very unique position.
But with that, so what keeps you in your position, in your role, and as part of your career? What keeps you? What keeps that level of desire? What keeps you motivated and passionate to continually develop yourself personally, and not just in business, but personally?
Look, I think it's the reward. I mean, as much as, you know, we try not to fixate too much on that sort of the satisfaction of the reward, because at the end of the day, we're all doing a job, and I get that. But for me, very much it's about, you know, a business that has either come to us and doesn't have, you know, whatever it is in place. They may be successful, they're getting a lot of leads, or they don't have a good structure and a good system. That's what we can fix. Or the ones that don't have leads and they need leads, whatever it is. There's always room for improvement with the right type of client. So I think that achievement, you know, and getting to that point sometimes can take 5 years to get them to that point. But for me, it's that part. And again, it sounds like a massive cliche, but if I can wake up in the morning and help someone today, then it's been a crack a day. Because there's a lot of times that we don't get it right, and there's a lot of things that we need to work on. But for me, that's the challenge for tomorrow. Let's fix it. Let's get them back on track and work out. No day is the same. No client is the same. No campaign is the same. So for me, when I used to sort of jump around in different jobs looking for that challenge, that's every day for me.
I like it.
So for what I was looking for, I've got daily.
Do you remember your first client at AiiMS?
Yeah, absolutely. Spoke with them this morning.
Good.
Believe it or not.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah, there's a few. I've got a handful that, you know, sort of initially came to us. This one specifically sort of came to us looking for directory work with another brand that we had. You know, just a quick little directory listing, and on we went. We built them a landing page at that time, sort of introduced them to the world of Google, knew that they needed it. They didn't really know what it was. Dipped their toe in it, sort of showed them the potential. They're in the aircon game. Up in Brisbane, and literally got off the phone with them this morning. And their sort of growth and what they've come from just looking for a directory listing is one of those reasons, and that's the success story of what we look for. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, they've gone from the landing page. They went from the directory listing. They did a landing page. We did a campaign. They added some staff. You know, we've built them a website. You know, we're doing SEO for them. You know, there's extra growth that's coming paired along with their own growth. You know? Same sort of deal, family business. Sons have come in to play a part. The transition is happening where the father's moving away, and it's that continual growth.
So they started that journey. They've been with you as a client now for 6 or 7 years, right? They were first introduced to the landscape and the concepts of digital marketing through you and through us at AiiMS. What has been the key driver to their sustainability? So their sustainability in reinvesting into digital marketing and consistently reinvesting in digital marketing for a long period of time, and obviously their ability to use it as a driver for the growth of his life. What has been some of the factors or the elements you've seen in the client itself and the business?
Well, I think it pairs with everything. You know, like if I use the terminology back of automotive, if you're going to work on the top end of an engine, you need to work on the bottom at the same time in order to get balance. A lot of what we've been doing on the inbound side of things for digital for them has been, you know, phenomenal. The amount of leads, the capacity has gone to huge, heights. for them, it's their attitude that has gone with that journey.
Nice.
Their growth in the sense of learning where they needed to put and fill those gaps.
Yeah.
You know, we did a lot of work with them, on flow management and getting them an understanding of where their drop-offs and their exit points were for their customers,
Yeah.
whether retaining or brand new customers.
Yeah.
So, we spent a lot of time working with them on lead management process and identified to them where they actually lose a lot of their leads. Some of them were as simple as, writing an email address down on a piece of paper,
Sure.
that piece of paper getting lost.
Sure.
Filling that gap with the CRM system to allow them to take the next step.
Okay.
So their ability not only to take the leads and be hungry for the work, but to also reinvest in the business process.
Okay.
To support that growth.
And look, and that's a key thing. I think if you look at, when you work with an advisor or a consultant or someone who's got ideas, right? You presented them as ideas from the very, very start.
Yeah.
There's weight on how you communicate the importance of those ideas.
Yeah.
But there's also a big part of how they receive that communication
Absolutely.
and implement those ideas.
Yeah.
And you realize that sometimes is the missing piece.
Yeah.
Ideas are nothing without implementation, execution. I think when you have a customer or a business who's taking the leap, investing into trust and progression, but then commercializing that as well. Does that make sense? And I think that's probably what makes a big, big difference between those who have been able to use marketing or sales as the lifeblood and the driving force behind their business, or those that have failed by investing into it, but not being able to capitalize on it.
Absolutely. And getting the timing wrong as well.
Yeah.
Like I find a lot of times that, we as advisors in growth, we sometimes get really caught up with first stage is this, second stage is this, and we understand where we can take them or where they can take themselves.
Yeah.
And it's also about the timing of implementation. There's no point going foot to the floor when you're just not ready to be able to handle it. And it's a really constant problem that a lot of businesses owners have, because even a lot of them will have, issues with getting leads, but it's like, okay, cool. Now I've got the leads. How do I maximize them? And what do I do for that next stage?
Right.
So I think a huge part of them is not only just being that hunger and having that hustle and that drive to keep going themselves, but it's to know, okay, cool. We're at that point. It's ready for something else.
Logic.
What do we do? They're keeping that growth going, lifting the ceiling higher and higher and higher, and learning when's the next time to sort of not necessarily perfecting it and then going to the next one.
That's right.
But just identifying when the time's to do it.
Sustainability seems to be the
Absolutely.
key. If you look at the longevity of your particular client you're referring to, has been doing it for 6 years and started as a novice small business and has been able to use marketing and grow the business, I think the sustainability of the strategy was probably key to the success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, especially talking about an industry that realistically has a 4 to 6 months downtime, when it's the winter period and it's not so hot, especially in Queensland, what do you do in that downtime? And for us to be able to help identify what the other opportunities were, rather than them just saying, it's a downtime.
Yep.
We're like, well, we're not going to accept that it's just a downtime.
Yep,
Let's
that's
work
right.
at something different.
Yep.
While everyone else is using this as a downtime, what do we do?
Absolutely.
How do we be more aggressive,
I want to ask a question about, so there's obviously, it's you have the skill, the knowledge, the ability to implement or devise, diagnose, implement, and follow through to assist in growing the business. But there's a lot more to agency client relationship than just delivering a product that produces an outcome.
Yeah.
I want to talk about relationship forming, relationship building.
Yeah.
That's a big part of your role as a client experience manager.
Yeah.
I think for us, it's a lot more than just putting together a marketing package that executes lead gens. It's a lot more than that. So experience and relationships are key. What makes you a great client experience manager, and what would you say are some of the important ingredients in managing or building and managing and keeping relationships in business?
Well, I think realistically, again, because of my past, and I suppose because of where I've come from, I've had fortunate enough to work in the family business and figure out what they needed as employees as well, but also employing my own staff and interviewing my own staff at times. I think what you always want is you want somebody as a business owner to care about your business as much as you care.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of people out there that'll do it, unfortunately.
Yep.
So I think for me, what I try and do is if I can play that role where I inject myself into a business and I feel everything,
Yes.
where I feel that it's tough and I take that pressure on, as bad as it might be. But if I can take that pressure on and I can feel the wins and I can feel the losses,
Yep.
when it comes to me giving advice and making decisions, I feel that they're coming from a place of the heart rather than just a sort of this is where we should go and what we should do. It's got a bit more of an understanding from a personal perspective.
I like that. And I think you look at business owners within the business making decisions. Sometimes the issue and therefore the demise can be decision making purely off emotions. But I think if you have a trusted, partner who's bolting on to that emotional reaction and feeling or decision, logic and strategy. So in terms of like, what are the foundations of a good business to business relationship? Why do your clients stick with you outside of the delivery of results and performance?
Yeah, look, I think because I call it as it is. A spade's a spade as far as I'm concerned. And there's a lot of things when it comes to business, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. If you've got someone that's going to tell you the truth up front rather than just sort of, tell you a sweetened version of it, you're not getting the best. You're going to always be backwards. But if you've got someone that's just going to tell you, no, I think you've made the wrong decision and this is the reason why, or even, this hasn't worked from our perspective and what we think we need to do. Having someone that's genuine in a world where usually business is not so genuine, I think that's a huge benefit.
Good.
And I think that's what I've always strived for that personally and professionally, is if people can feel that I'm a genuine person, then I'm happy.
Yep.
Because again, like I said, there's no frills about me. I am who I am. And 9 times out of 10, it comes off in the best possible way.
Absolutely.
And
honesty is a skill. It's a skill and it's a major attribute.
And it's a risk sometimes because there's a
100%.
lot of people out there that'll paint a picture and tell a story. And to be the guy that's just going to tell you the truth, sometimes you're out on that ledge on your own.
But I think you go through the buzzwords: transparency, honesty, integrity. Authenticity is key.
Yeah.
Like you look at us as an agency and us as people, gritty, savvy, wear your skin. You know what I mean? I think if it's built on a foundation of trust, expectation, and then bolted on with performance, that's not a
sales skill. Do you know what I mean? Like being genuine, it's extremely easy to see straight through it.
Authenticity. So pedaling back, Rhys, to when you first started as an account manager, client experience manager, to sort of fast forwarding 6-7 years down the track.
Yeah.
What's evolved? What's changed in the role of a client experience manager?
Yeah, look, I think even when I first started, I'll be honest with you, it was very much a customer service role. We basically were a glorified report. We generated a report and we would walk our client through it, explain the data to them, what we had seen, trends and that sort of stuff. Where now it's almost completely different. Now it's much more of a business advisor, business coach, a strategic manager. There's a lot more hands-on stuff that's a bit more outside of the data. Granted, we still look at the data, we still look at everything that's still there, but what we do is we look at that opportunity within that data to then, accurately sort of help that growth and work out where it is. Obviously, every client's different with what they want to grow and how they want to grow. Some want to take on new staff or expand to different states, whatever it is. Taking that into consideration, we view the data and then we come up with the ideas and the advice from there. So it's a very, very different climate. There's agencies out there that sort of started the same time that I was around. And they're still there doing the same thing. And what we're doing and how we sort of translate and grow into that department is completely different. It's still the customer service is there. And I suppose that's when the authenticity comes into play because we're advising a hell of a lot more.
That's right. And it sort of comes back to that whole full circle approach. Like, something I've always friggin' said is when you're in digital marketing or working for a digital marketing agency, you can get caught up in digital marketing. You can get caught up in the understanding that all a business needs to be successful is digital marketing. And it's fucking far from the truth, right? And I think that's probably where the evolution sort of came in terms of the role of client experience manager and relationship management and guidance for our clients is commercializing digital marketing. Digital marketing is no good if you don't have the operation to support it. So I think, with us and like we look back, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, when we were digital marketing facilitators as a new agency, the churn rate of clients was high. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it was.
And if I look back, I'm not saying every campaign was perfect or Mickey Mouse, but execution was fine from a digital marketing perspective. The ability to commercialize it and turn it into financial gain for our clients, whether it was through service, whether it's through sales, product delivery, retention, et cetera, was not a profitable exercise.
No.
So all of a sudden, the digital marketing platform product that we were implementing was not successful. From a marketing perspective, it ticked 9 out of 10 boxes.
Well, how many times did we overanalyze a campaign because
Absolutely.
of feedback or what we thought had happened?
Correct.
You know, we dive into it and we start meddling around and we change so much and we realize it gets worse and worse and worse.
I need more leads. And you dive into the data and you looked at, we say, mate, we've had 5 times more leads than we expected, but you've missed 70% of those phone calls.
Look at the difference of what happened when we started, implementing call tracking to all of our clients.
Absolutely.
The second you step back from the data and go, wait a minute, let's just not overanalyze this. Check one thing and go, wow, it's missed calls.
100%.
And all of a sudden, everything that we knew 12 months ago is flipped on its head because now we've got different data from a different perspective.
But see, and that's the difference between emotional response, reaction, and changes out of desperation,
Absolutely.
logic, poise, and commercial mindset. Do you know what I mean? So, look, that's definitely a good answer. What I want to ask you is, obviously, you're highly skilled. You've been successful. You're very, very experienced, and you're one of our senior client experience managers here at AiiMS and a big driving force behind the growth. For a new account manager, right, or whether joining AiiMS or in another role or agency, it doesn't have to be digital marketing.
Yep.
What advice would you give to an account manager or a client experience manager?
Look, I've always, any job that I've gone in, I've very early on listened a lot to everybody that's in the room. And I usually attach myself to someone as a mentor. I always sort of just stick to someone and say, look, that person is very similar to me and what I want to be.
Is that why you've been following me?
Always. You can't stay away from me. Just have lunch with me once, would you? But like here, one of the things that I learned very early on, that there was value in everyone. Because again, it's that perspective. The way that, Gurkhan or Ravi or Sarah would manage a client isn't necessarily the way that I would do.
Yeah.
But there is absolutely 90% of the things that I can take from them and 90% I can take from someone else and put it into myself. It's like the theory as we became parents. We take the best from both sides and become better parents each time.
Yep.
That's what I look at as an account manager. When I came in, I would spend a lot of time having my lunch with the developers, that traditionally we didn't necessarily speak with, or I sat with the designers, or I sat with the SEO team and picked their brain and listened to what they would do and how they would work in order to take just one thing from them and say, I'm implementing it into my clients and what I can do.
So it's having a desire, being inquisitive, if that makes any sense. It goes back to wearing
hungry,
the student
growing.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where, in certain people's, particularly in business or sales, ego or ignorance sometimes is the cock block between unlocking desire, inquisitive, and obviously welcoming new knowledge. That's definitely key.
Well, and I think you've got to be green to be growing. You know what I mean? Like that saying is, if you're not, if you come to work one day and you don't want to learn something new, then it's a wasted day. Go home. And I think that's it. When I walk in, there's something I can learn from each and every person here. Even if it's a new person that starts on their very first day, that person has come to this company with some skills that weren't here before.
Nice.
And I love it.
Wrapping up, I want to talk about business. What's the difference? And obviously you've been able to guide, support, mentor hundreds of small, medium, and large businesses over the years in obviously a lot more areas than just digital marketing.
Yeah.
For an SME, right? What would be a key difference between a good business and a great business?
Yeah, good one. Like hunger, attention, passion. I think, outside of team members and having people that work, aligning yourself with a team that's going to reinforce you and grow you as well, and I think is extremely, extremely important. But again, working on, maintaining that hunger. When everyone starts a business, they're excited. They're not even making money. That first year is horrible. You're not making money, but you're still so excited. You're working for yourself. It's something new. It's exciting. If you can maintain that and you can continue that excitement because there is so much growth still to come, you never, ever go backwards because you're always improving. Even if you're making mistakes and you're having failures, it's still improvement because you've done something new, you learned from it, now you can take your next step.
Yep.
And I think I look at the standout clients, like the one that I had, the early ones that I have that have still been with me, they haven't lost that hunger. Even if it's just adding a team member into it to reinforce that hunger. Like the son's coming involved. He was like, okay, cool. Here's something. Here's a baby I can pass on to the next generation. That hunger was re-sparked. And I think if you keep that in there, you keep that hustle, there is no reason why you can't be a great business owner. And the good ones, they're there. But again, they get a little bit too complacent and content with where they're at.
And that's fine.
Absolutely.
And not every business is in the market to scale. Not every business is in the market to grow in all directions. Business is about freedom to a lot of people. Business is about lifestyle to a lot of people, and business owners are humble in a lot of areas.
Absolutely.
And
there's a place for them all.
And that's exactly right.
Even the ones that don't run and operate so well, like they even have a potential to sort of sit where they are and make their money and do what they need to do. It's not over, the lifestyle or the family is more important to them and the day-to-day isn't. But that's just totally fine. There's a spot for everybody.
That's right. Look, lastly, I want to ask you one particular question. Obviously, you've been here for long enough, and you know the trade, the game, the landscape, the market, the culture, the agency. I'll say more buzzwords like the vision, vision and the evolution that you're seeing amongst the company of AiiMS at the moment. What does the future look like for AiiMS for you? Big one.
Ben, honestly, it's exciting. There's so much more to come. Look at us now. We're sitting in a podcast studio having an interview.
Valid point, dude. Valid point.
And I look at that and I sort of think, if you asked me 12 months ago, would we be doing something like this? I would have said no. Cool. That's not us.
Cool
that's mad. Whatever.
Yeah.
So then I
even know how to post on Instagram.
What's an Instagram?
We're still doing Happy Friday posts.
Mondays. But no, and I look at that and I sort of think, man, who knows what's next? You know what I mean? And it's one of those spaces, the digital space is ever changing. When TikTok first started, it was a humorous platform for young kids to dance like idiots. And then now it's a legitimate advertising platform that businesses have growth on. You know what I mean? What's next? When Facebook started, everyone thought it was ridiculous. And now look at it. There's so much exciting things to come. And we're grabbing hold of it. And we're just running with it. And we're letting everyone else chase us. You know what I mean? And I love it because for me, again, it's something new and exciting that I can say to my customers, this is what we need to get yourself into. And the content and the work that we're doing with it is also exciting.
Nice.
So, there's that passion that I get, the same that I want to preach to my clients is stay excited and stay passionate. And this is what you'll get. I mean, look what we're doing.
Love it. Love it.
Who knows what's next?
Love it. Rhys, thanks, brother.
Right.
Been good.
Thank you, man.
Take care.